Hey guys, Sleepy Vlog number 11.1. I am trying to make a short video. It'll probably go long as it always does. So yeah, I have wanted to make a lot more videos lately than I actually have gotten around to doing. Last week I wanted to review more of the comics than I actually did, and I wanted to, the week before I had a bunch of Rot World comics. I wanted to do that as a video, just focusing on the Rot World. I've seen some other people do some really cool longer thought pieces on Rot World, and I had some thoughts I wanted to share, but just didn't have time. Christmas, people having colds, me having a cold, my asthma hitting bad, as it does often after I have a cold, once or twice a year anyway. Generally my asthma is not bad at all, but just once or twice a year after a cold, it hits me pretty hard. And I also had bought a lot of things on digital sales, like a whole bunch of Valiant comics for 99 cents a piece, and a whole bunch of Dark Horse comics for 99 cents a piece. And I was going to do an overview of my thoughts on the Valiant comics, but that's, by the time I have time to do that, those are going to be even older issues. And I read the first 9 of Brian Wood's Conan comics, which were very interesting and a very up and down experience, mostly because of the changing artists, and I thought I'd do a video on that. Then I thought I might still be able to, might do this at some point, but I wanted to do a video of about all the different Conan artists, or a lot of the different Conan artists, and how his look has changed so much in different ways. Yeah, one thing, reading these very cheap digital comics, I do it because it's cheap and because there are plenty of times when the easiest way to read comics is on my iPad. And usually it's not nearly as good of an experience as on paper. Usually. I have to say I'm really enjoying Matt Kint's Mind Management, and I think it looks better on the iPad because I think he hand-colored it in these kind of washed-out watercolor, hand-colored it with watercolors, and it's kind of a washed-out, faded kind of look, and you can just really get a good look at that watercolor painting on the digital in a way I don't know if it really would print out so well on the comic book page. But on top of that, while I like Mind Management, I don't love it, and it's a $3.99 book. So when I can get it for 99 cents digitally, that's good enough. But it's nice when you can take a really close look at the art and the tones of his color. So anyway, just thought I mentioned that. I'm just going to go over a whole bunch of odds and ends just because I feel like doing it. Let me quickly, when I carry comics to work, to read in my car or possibly at a cafe, I carry them in this kind of, it's meant to be a writing tablet with space for putting paper inside, but I managed to fit a bunch of my comics in there. So I've been bringing it all week to work, but I've been Christmas shopping on my lunch break. And then in the evenings not getting much time to read. Although I will finally start reading some of these after recording this blog. So I got 10 new comic books this week. The Black Beetle, Night Shift, issue number 0. I wonder if that means these are reprints from Dark Horse Presents. I hope they're not. They're probably in the Dark Horse Presents that I own but haven't read yet. But anyway, I was kind of excited that it's written and drawn by Francisco Francavilla, so I'm very curious to see what he's doing. I find that any comic book drawn by him I enjoy to some degree. I picked up Birds of Prey. I wasn't planning to, but then I saw that Juan Jose Ripe, whose art I've recently discovered that I love, is filling in on this issue. it's funny to have such a great artist as a fill-in artist at DC, but this is the first time cracking it open, so I don't know what we're going to find. But if it's anything like what he's done on Talon and on Clone, this art is going to be a super treat. He seems like just an amazingly detailed artist. I don't know how there's so many comic books coming out by him at the same time. They're probably were not all drawn at the same time. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. I have a Birds of Prey 14, which I haven't read yet, so I guess I'll go back and read that and then read this just so I can savor the artwork. Lots of exciting books this week. There's Wonder Woman, The Return of the New Gods. I love the New Gods. I love Orion. I'm a little nervous to see what they're going to do with him. I haven't cracked this book open to see yet. I'm kind of excited by X-Men Extreme, issue number 8. Last week they had issue 7.1, and that was a really good issue. I didn't get to review that. That one had Professor Xavier, and one of the many evil Professor Xaviers turns out to be a giant outer space whale with Professor Xavier's face on it, flying through space. And in that one issue, there's all kinds of fun twists and turns. The art sucked, unfortunately. That's the downside of Extreme X-Men. It's great stories, fun writing, sucky art, or art that just barely makes it. We'll see. This may be a different artist this issue. Another Multiple Warheads. It feels like these are coming out pretty fast. I think there's only supposed to be 4 issues. So, yeah, it doesn't really make any sense, but I enjoy reading it. Another exciting one, Hawkeye. I love this cover. This is a great cover. Aha's sense of design is fantastic. I'm really looking forward to Aha coming back on this issue. Fables. I've started picking up Fables, but I now have 3 issues in a row that I need to read, so I haven't read any of them yet. Really excited for the next issue of Daredevil, and this is a cool cover. Lots of cool covers on Daredevil. Only to be topped by an even cooler Saga cover. That is so cool. This woman in this science fiction scene just blowing a bubble gum. Excellent cover. Wish they do wraparounds. They don't do anything on the back. They could do wraparounds. I guess if you ever meet Fiona Staples, you can have her do a sketch there. And then, speaking of Francavilla, I've been picking up the Captain America and Black Widows, but which are all drawn by Francavilla, and I haven't read them yet either, so I have 4 or 5 issues now of this run to read. So I will read some of those tonight, probably Wonder Woman and Saga for starters. But it looks like a really good week. Next week I won't even be going to the comic book shop. And a few days after Christmas, I will be traveling out of town. Just me and my daughter visiting my parents in Connecticut. My wife's parents are here on the West Coast, and we will be seeing them for the actual Christmas holiday. And a number of my brother-in-laws will be visiting, and so I bought several of them graphic novels for their Christmas presents. I got Fatale for one of them, and Manhattan Projects for the other. Two of my favorite graphic novels or collections that I've read this year. Both excellent, and I think they'll be quite surprised at how much they like them. For my daughter, I was thinking of stocking stuffers. I've got her 3 female superhero figures. This is, I don't even know this character. I don't know enough Green Lantern lore. Her name is Soranik Natu. I just grabbed her because it was a female Green Lantern. As some of you may remember, whenever we read comics, my daughter then makes up the girl Green Lantern or the girl Captain America or whatever, girl Hulk. And then I also got, it's hard to find figures of female characters. I got Donna Troy, Wonder Girl, if that's what she still goes by. It's funny, on these figures they just say Donna Troy. And finally I got Mary Marvel, who they're just calling Mary Batson. They don't even say Shazam on here. So hopefully my daughter will get a kick out of those. The only way to find the female figurines is to go on Amazon, and there's few and far between. So my daughter would really love a Batgirl, but the only Batgirl that I could find was like $40 or $38. And given that she's going to tear the legs off within a month, that seemed like a poor bet. Another thing that I got fairly recently was a bunch of Mylars. When I first started realizing that I really want to save my comics really well, the few that I have left, because I have a past of just not taking seriously collecting comics. And only recently, sort of, as I reach this period of grayness, realized that I just want the comic books I love to be in good shape, and I want to have them for the rest of my life. So previously I ordered some Mylars off of Amazon, and they were supposed to be good for Bronze Age comics, but none of my Bronze Age comics fit into them. It was very frustrating. So now I've ordered 200 Mylite 2s that are for the Golden Age and Silver Age comics, and they're a bit on the big side. I guess that's okay. Feels a little loose in the bags. Maybe I should get those double-sided boards. I just have the single-sided boards. So I ordered 200 Silver Age ones, and then I just needed a few more. You have to, from E. Gerber, you have to you look on their website and figure out what you want to buy, and then you call them up. And you have to order enough so that your postage is at least $15. So then to top it off, I ordered 100 standard size comic book bags, which are actually the size of the ones that the other company sold me to be for Bronze Age ones. So I'm trying to decide whether to put all of my comics in Mylars or just some of them. Like, should I pick for the more recent ones that aren't, on the cheap paper? Should I just pick my most favorite ones and put them in Mylar? And do they need Mylar at all? Like, I understand that the bags, the poly whatever bags, deteriorate within 7 years, start deteriorating, but I don't know what that deterioration means. Does it mean it's letting more oxygen in that's hurting the paper? And how much harm can come to a more modern comic book, on this very slick paper? I don't know. So the Mylar looks a whole lot nicer, but it's expensive. So getting I guess in total I got 500 Mylar bags, and I paid a little over $100. So that's a lot of bags at once, but a big chunk of change at the same time. So I put off doing it for quite a while, and now I have to figure out which. I mean, all of my comics that I have left or that I will buy in the future from the Bronze Age and the Silver Age, I have them because I love them for sure, and want all of those to be in Mylar. And it seems to me, I'm so old that when I first started going to comic book stores, I don't even remember most of the comics being in bags. And certainly they weren't in bags when you bought them at other kinds of stores. There were hardly any comic book stores at first. And then the bags became more common, but it took a long time for the backing boards to be more common. But it actually seems to me that the backing boards are a really important ingredient, because the thing that happens most to your comics is they get bent up and stuff, and the backing boards really protect them from that. So I do want to get all the comics bagged and boarded, but what kind of bags to use is the question. So yeah, there's that. Speaking of Christmas shopping, I got kind of an early Christmas present from Matt, Agent 42Q. He sent me Kirby 5.0. It was kind of you know, we're giving each other presents. I gave him a whole bunch of digital codes, and I'll be giving him some more. And so he wanted to get me something that I like, and I love this. This is actually the 50th issue of, doesn't really say it on the cover, but it's literally the 50th issue of the Jack Kirby Collector, and they used it to celebrate 5 decades of Kirby's artwork. And so it's full of lots of original artwork, but it's also full of all these lists of like his best covers from all the decades and his best stories from all the decades and his best characters from all the decades and all of that. So it's a very cool item. The publishers of it, Tomorrow's, sort of published it as a book, although it was also the 50th issue of the comic, so it has remained in print and remained available through bookstores and Amazon and such. So yeah, I'm really going to enjoy this. Thank you, Matt. Much better than the digital codes I sent you. Okay, what else was I going to talk about? There was, I don't think Howler Mouse did a live video that I saw part of, or a hangout, and he hasn't yet posted it as a regular video about his 2-year anniversary in the comic book community, and I recently passed my 6-month anniversary, and there's more and more guys wanting, guys and gals wanting to be part of this. When I say guys, I always mean guys and girls anyway, guys and women, macho men and macho women. Now I've distracted myself. So anyway, I'm subscribed to a huge number of people. Anytime someone subscribes to me, I check them out, or if they leave me a comment, or if I see their comments on other people's videos. But it's sort of interesting. You can't watch everything, and less and less often watch videos where people just hold up a whole bunch of their comics and show them. That's sort of the kind of thing I did for my first few videos, but I'm much more interested in people's thoughts about things, and when they share stories like Why Not Art does or Howler Mouse does, or when they have a lot to say about the comic books they're showing, or I love the reviews of the current comics. And as much as I'm an old guy and I just totally love, the comics that I loved when I was a kid, I really do like a lot of what's being published now. I think there's so much great work being done, and trying to come up with, when I was on the Comic Talk podcast with Captain Cummings, trying to come up with his end of the year list, I just realized trying to narrow it down to the best series of the year, the best artist, the best writer. Was so much good stuff I read this year. That I'm really glad to be following and addicted to the current comic books. I do, though, I think every now and then I've said, well, this, I wish there was a little more light reading. I wish there was a little less bloody serial killers. And since the big shooting of all those children in Connecticut, there's been at least on one of these rumor websites, a notice about how DC has now told their writers to cut back on violence. And apparently before, they had actually had kind of a policy of requesting that they push the violence to the edge. And I was kind of disturbed to read that. Because while there's lots of great stories about serial killers and stuff, it doesn't all need to be that far, and certainly the old comic books, or even comic books from 10 years ago, did not rely on this kind of stuff so much. And I think I am going to kind of, like the Joker in Batman obviously is a serial killer, and he does a lot of serial killing in the recent arc. And some of it's treated rather blasé, where he seems to kill 10 or 20 cops, in a few minutes, and it's just glossed over briefly. But, I won't stop buying that. But I think I'm gonna ask myself, where are the more just fun kind of comics, and the ones that don't sort of revel in death and torture too much. I'm dropping Bedlam for now anyway, and well, the main reason I dropped Batwoman was because of the story just dragging on forever. I also was irritated with how much it sort of focused on the gruesomeness after a while. So, yeah, I'm pretty disappointed in DC to hear that they actually had a policy of, like, push the violence to the extreme. It's interesting because I noticed there's a lot less of the cheesecake pushed to the extreme lately. There was a while back, I don't know exactly when, where you'd look at a lot of comic book covers and they'd be full of superheroines, you know, butt cheeks hanging out. And you don't really see that so much anymore. So anyway, maybe we'll see a return of the cheesecake if they're going to cut down on the violence a bit. Also, you know, the whole extremities of violence where there's too many torturous images just makes me sad that the comics can less be shared by parents with their kids, or just picked up by kids and parents, you know, can feel okay about them reading them. And I don't want to get like Frederick Wortham and say we're corrupting our kids with comics or anything like that. But I just think there's a good place. I like horror comic books. You know, I'm digging a hole for myself here. I like horror comic books. I like things about the extremes, but I don't want everything to be the extreme. Yeah, there was something else on my mind. Well, anyway, for those of you who have made it to the end of this video, I really appreciate it. And I want to give you, or some of you, a Christmas present, and it will arrive a bit late. So if you're still listening, keep listening, because what you need to do is just write in the comments, Merry Xmas, you know, Christmas X-M-A-S, Merry Xmas Damian, D-A-M-I-A-N. And if you write that, then you will be put into a drawing for a mystery Christmas present from me, which will probably arrive around New Year's or something. And depending on how many people enter will depend on how many mystery presents I'll give out. So like if just 5 people enter, I'll do 1. But if there's 10, I'll do 2, and on and on. And so I think I'll do a drawing. I hope if I'm able to do a video, then I'll do a drawing on Christmas Eve or Christmas. If not, I'll do a drawing as soon as I can. And the winners, I will then go out and pick a surprise comic book present for you. If I know you from your videos or your comments, I will try my best to get something that I think would surprise or interest you. If I don't, I'll just look for something that I think is interesting and send it to you. So mystery present, mystery Christmas present to my friends out there. I'd love to give all of my friends a present, but you know, this is the way to do it. And I don't want to make it a contest where I get more views and stuff. Just want to give it, you know, to my hardcore viewers. So you have until Christmas Eve, so not very long, to write Merry Xmas Damian, D-A-M-I-A-N. And I encourage all of you who are listening to do that, because I want to give you a present. So till next time, this is Sleepy Reader, and I'm going to let it ride.
Baby ride band, don't you let my baby ride band, don't you let my baby ride band, don't you let my baby